Let's get it on. Hello, guys. I'm Naki the Insane, and with me is none other than Faxable Scalar.
What's
Say hi,
good?
Faxable.
What's good, everyone?
And
Factual
today
Scaler
we're
here.
gonna. Okay, then. Let's get started. Today we're gonna tackle a thread made by Hyperworld. It's called Alien X is not as powerful as you think. And this thread was interesting.
Interesting is such a nice way of putting it.
I just want to be nice, man. I don't hate Hyperworld. He's pretty awesome, all things considered. And
No, I
honestly,
don't think so.
yeah. Honestly, I just think he's pretty cool. He does present his opinion pretty well overall, and I think many of his arguments are good if you're not that informed in Ben 10.
I don't think his arguments are pretty good because of the fact that he uses a lot of outdated or retcon statements as facts, and he or just outright wrong.
Yeah, pretty much. But I still think there are some interesting arguments. For example, I think you and me can agree that the first four screenshots, the first arguments, are pretty good, right?
Yeah, the first argument about why he couldn't remake the universe and stuff like that. Yeah, that was pretty good. It was spitty.
Yeah. So let's get started with screenshot number four. I'll read it out loud. If you're omnipotent, you shouldn't have to follow any rules, right? You're not bound by anything. As people say, Alien X isn't bound by space or time. But he clearly is, right? Okay, this one is wrong. Let's start with this.
Okay, first of all,
Um,
Duncan already said that Alien X lives outside space and time, and literally in Ultimate Alien, um, the Forge of Creation is stated to be outside the universe and out of sync with all of time. So I don't understand what he means here.
It's too much. The child cannot win this time.
And I say he can. Won't it be fun to find out who's right?
You guys want to stop talking about me like I'm not here?
What he said. We're gonna do this. You gonna help?
You can start by telling us what the Forge of Creation is.
It is the source of the universe's greatest power. It's where ideas become real.
The Forge of Creation is where celestial sapiens like Alien X are born.
It sounds beautiful.
Anyway, it doesn't sound like a problem.
Agrigor intends to absorb the abilities of a newborn celestial sapien. Should he succeed, he will become omnipotent.
Okay, that sounds like a problem.
I believe that with the help of your friends, you can stop this. Will you try?
You have to ask?
If we're going to get there in time, we'll have to have already left. Off we go.
Where are we? There's nothing on my instruments.
Understandable. There's nothing outside either. You see that faint glow in the distance?
A star?
Actually, it's the universe. We're in the space beyond.
Then what's that?
That is the next universe over. I don't like it at all. The physics are terribly counterintuitive.
Wait, I thought the universe was everything.
A common error of the parochial mind. There's always more to reality than one imagines. Now, we've arrived. Full stop.
Relative to what?
Excellent point, actually.
I still don't see anything.
That's because it's enclosed by a chronal randomization barrier. It is out of sync with all time, and without the map of infinity, totally inaccessible. Unless, of course, you're me. Inside this hidden nebula is the birthplace of a bouncing baby alien X. And while it is a truly adorable creature,
We can't let Agrigor touch it. Let's do this.
this is as far as I can go.
If by what he means by is because he destroyed the universe and he couldn't make it back, how does that make him bound by time? He couldn't save the universe because it had no time or space to bring back. That just at best is a limitation, but that doesn't make him bound to it. If he was bound to it, he would have been erased too.
Yeah, yeah. You might bring an argument that Alien X could reverse the effect, like how Clockwork reversed the Chronosapien time bomb, but the Chronosapien time bomb was bound by the system of cause and effect, while the Annihilarg wasn't, or at least implied isn't.
No, the problem with the time bomb is that it still had time. It only destroyed timelines, or well, reset the infinite time stream. As Paradox stated, in order to build it back, they needed to make Ben Prime get back the Omnitrix, make sure he found the Omnitrix. While the Annihilog destroyed everything in creation.
Yeah, this is gonna get into the Ben 10 cosmology blogging versus Battle Wiki made by I think Greenshifter, but we're really gonna start off for now. We're just gonna say I don't think Alien X being bound by time is right because how are you supposed to reverse something that's already annihilated? Nothing in it. All right, let's continue.
I just
Because
still
time.
can't comprehend his statement about being bound by time means that he is because he couldn't reverse the effects of the Annihilog. It's just such a weird argument, way to present that argument, in my opinion. It's just honestly kind of like brain mind boggling. I just can't get over it for some reason. Is that
All
bad?
right, let's continue reading it. Hmm?
Is that bad? Like, I don't know. Just, I don't know. It's just that one way he presents that argument that just makes me angry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Alright,
All
continue.
right,
Sorry
let's
about that.
continue. Maybe. Yeah, let's continue. Maybe I'm missing some stuff. Because time had. Okay, he agrees with us. Because time had been erased. Because there was no longer any time to reverse. He agrees with us. Good.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't know why I missed this. I don't know how I missed this. I swear I read the thread at least twice last day. This means Alien X had to create the fourth dimension, true, which leads nicely to my next point, which is the 26 plus spatial dimensions. No, I don't think there's 26 plus spatial dimensions in Ben 10, or at least aside from the infinite dimensional ghost ship. I don't think there's more than 26 that we already kind of prove. Unless you think the Forge of Creation is above the entire verse.
I mean, it kind of is. The verse came from the Forge of Creation.
I mean, yeah, if I remember correctly, everything came from the Forge of Creation. Like ideas became real, right?
Yeah, everything came from the Forge of Creation. I mean, technically, you can make the argument that the white void came from the Forge of Creation, like from New Dawn, and then, well, the Quantum Media would have created the universe from the Annihilad. But yeah, basically, but everything comes from the Forge of Creation, as stated in Ultimate Alien. The universe is created from Forge of Creation, and I guess what I mean by that is that the white void of the universe is created from it, while the
I just,
quantum media creates the universe itself.
Also,
Be
hi
so
Marcus Kun.
retarded. He he literally assumes that anodize are extra dimensional beings, Mister. I need proof and evidence, man.
Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Hold on. Hey, Marcus
That's Marcus
Kun,
Kun.
what's good?
I want to point out. Hey Marcus, listen. We're currently recording. Do you mind or?
Oh, you want to join in?
No, fine. You can yap your yap. You can talk your talk. It's fine, bro.
You
Like,
could join
hey,
in, you could join in if you want. I mean, we don't mind.
no, that'd be fucking cool. That'd actually be fucking awesome, bro.
All right,
Right then, let's
so
get started.
yeah, so let's go on to the Nalgene one.
Okay, so let's start off with something important about the Nalgians. Hyperworld refers to them as Nalgians, but he knows that this isn't their name. The Cosmic Mom's name is Cosmic Mom. So please don't confuse Nalgians with the beings that. Yeah, we're just gonna call them Cosmic Mom or Nalgians today, just to not to make any confusion. But their name isn't Nalgians. Let's point this out. So there being over
Yeah.
26 spatial dimensions, and applied it to Alien X's feat of recreating the universe, saying that Alien X had to recreate all 26 dimensions as well. However, there is no proof of this. The only argument I've heard is that each universe has their own separate spatial dimensions, meaning that there are infinite third dimensions as there are infinite universes. For
Okay, so
example, how
all right, sorry, I didn't know I
yeah,
didn't know you was finished. Continue.
okay then. However, this doesn't make sense as we see the third dimension and other dimensions such as the fifth still present even outside of the universe on two separate occasions. We see this in the Forge of Creation when Ben, Gwen, Kevin, and the Rust Bucket 3 are outside of the classic universe heading towards the Forge of Creation. They are still in the third dimension despite not being within the universe. Okay, where did you get the idea that they're still in the third dimension? Paradox has can grant people power. Like, I don't think Ben and Rook can function as beings outside of a timeline. Remember the Time War, at the end of the Time War?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah, I
still
remember.
were able to walk and do anything in the fifth dimension, so I don't exactly understand his point here. We're outside of the universe.
Honestly, I think this is the part where things go downhill because he's trying to like bring himself, um, I guess, present himself as someone knowledgeable in physics, which he is obviously not. As someone who graduated with all my science subjects,
Oh,
it's
that's
just
nice. You should be
yeah,
proud of yourself.
yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I am pretty good at physics, but I'm not the best. I only know the basics.
Okay,
Me too. I kind of know the basics. Like
but
as of right now, I mean, I've just kind of have gotten past projectiles, and I know Nigeria has like a different learning standard than all of you, so I might be confused by some of the topics you do mention. Because one time I literally thought that energy bonds, or what they were called again, is a good argument for energy attacks count applying to AP equals durability. Like, I'm just kidding. I look like a complete idiot in that manner. And the person that called me stupid was like this person that, like, I don't know, is a college student and they're constantly passing physics. And me, I'm literally just a high schooler in a Nigerian school.
I mean, I don't get you wrong in that aspect. I mean, I probably what I do is just that I read theories in my free time. I only graduated high school level physics sciences, but I do read theories in my free time, such as Tegmax, multiversal theory, and many worlds interpretation and stuff like that.
That's good.
Yeah, I've also read them, but I only read the basics, the surface level stuff.
Yeah, but okay, but what I'm trying to say is that he tries to present himself as someone that knowledgeable in physics, but it's
Yeah, like, can
obviously
I be like,
it's like what?
Yes, Marcus?
like, I'll be super honest. If somebody like, excuse me,
Yeah, what?
if somebody like factual scalar can, like, debunk Lee Chop in a debate, I'm actually confident that most down players in the Benton Twitter community are absolutely cooked.
I mean,
I'm gonna be honest, I think
Lee Chop is more like how should I say? He's more of uh hmm, rhetorical. He's more rhetorical than me in terms of debating. But when it comes to physics and stuff like that, I'd say DJ, I can't remember his name, but yeah, they are way better than me in terms of like maths and physics and stuff like that. So yeah, but in terms of physics with Lee Chop versus me, yeah, he can't beat me in physics and stuff like that. But
Yeah, that's
alright.
fine.
yeah, so
I'm gonna say this right now.
so basically what he's trying to say is that even though the third dimension and for the third and fourth dimension is destroyed, then and recreated it, then he wouldn't recreate the other 24 dimensions, which is a really, really dumb argument because of the fact that higher spatial dimensions are interdimensionally connected to the lower ones. Not only that, but if the universe, the spatial dimensions are contained by the universe. if the universe is destroyed, then all dimensions would automatically collapse. If they are outside the universe, then they are outside all known dimensions within the universe. That's how that works. And he's trying to present
All
it
right then.
that because the third dimension and fourth dimension were destroyed and Alien X recreated, there's no objective proof that that the other higher dimensions would scale to suit on him recreating it, which, as I've stated, is really dumb.
Screenshot number 7. All right. We see this again in A New Dawn, when Ben, Brooke, and Skirt and Maltruant all travel to before the classic universe was created. Thus, before there was no time, which is why Maltruant couldn't use his powers. Yet, we see these characters are still in. No, oh, no! No! You're not gonna pull eyeball argument. We still see them in the third dimension as well.
That's not the third
Anything that
dimension
they
Motherfucker.
though,
brought.
because that episode showed them.
Motherfucker.
Dog, that episode shows them outside the universe, though, that they will automatically be outside all dimensions and all dimensionality if they are outside the universe. Paradox even shows the next universe over, and it's counterintuitive physics. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, pretty much.
What the fuck was my guy smoking when making this?
Weed, hard drugs, Reggie, hard drugs.
I still want. Okay, y'all. Right. Let's get started with another segment. Anything they brought with them. Example: the proto tool. Not only this, but we are introduced to the fifth dimensional beings, which are the Quantumalia, and we are introduced to the fifth dimensional barrier that the analog is placed within. We know that without spatial dimensions, there's nothing, and yet outside of universe, there's the Quantumalia. We don't know where they came from, and their ship. There's the force of creation, and there is space that can be traveled through outside of the universe, as you can travel from one universe to another. And we saw that you could travel from the classic universe to the force of creation via the Rust Bucket Tree, Ultimate Agrogor, and Ultimate Kevin. Okay, I'm just
This
gonna
is
say this right
not
now.
true.
Um,
You do realize he did realize that the reason why they could do that is because of the fact that one ultimate aggregate had the map of infinity which allows them to go to the forge of creation, and Professor Paradox already stated that it's completely inaccessible unless you're him or you have the map of infinity. So that makes absolutely no sense. That already debunks his argument.
Now, we've arrived. Full stop.
Relative to what?
Excellent point, actually.
I still don't see anything.
That's because it's enclosed by a chronal randomization barrier. It is out of sync with all time, and without the map of infinity, totally inaccessible. Unless, of course, you're me.
what about Ultimate Kevin?
Just making a fool out of himself as usual.
What about Ultimate Kevin?
Ultimate Kevin would
Honestly,
Ultimate Kevin would have probably absorbed the power of the map of infinity, since, well, also the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that Professor Paradox made our way in, he probably flew out through that. So and
yeah.
I didn't Aggregor already absorb the map of infinity when he got it, so obviously Kevin would have gotten it too.
Okay then. You wouldn't be able to try. Let's continue with screenshot number, I think, 8. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to travel distances from one place to another if not for the first three spatial dimensions. That is true. So we know that these dimensions exist, even if the classic universe is not present, and that these dimensions don't originate within each universe. So we know that when Alienx recreates the classic universe, he doesn't recreate the first three spatial dimensions, nor the fifth. And saying Alienx had to create any other spatial dimension outside of the fourth is merely headcanon or simply untrue.
This is
What are
once
your
again
thoughts?
not true, as physics states once again that all dimensions are contained within the universe. And first of all, even if you get rid of the full lower dimensions, the higher dimensions would automatically dismantle. I mean, sure, it's higher than the original one, but you have to remember too that they are interconnected. So
Okay
get
then.
rid of.
So
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, when Ben Brooke and Ben Brooke and Scott visit the fifth dimension, we can say that what can I say? They were aided by Paradox as usual, especially when back when they entered the Forge of Creation.
Yep.
But what about the fifth dimension? I kind of want to remember the argument, or at least understandable.
No fifth dimension, especially when some dimension dimension cover concepts even beyond the universe, such as the fifth dimension, which is associated with. Um, I don't know about that one exactly with the seventh dimension. What is he talking about?
Well, let me get to it. So we know that these dimensions exist even if the classic universe is not present, and that these dimensions don't originate within each universe. So we know that when Alien X recreates the classic universe, he doesn't recreate the first three spatial dimensions, nor the fifth. Alien X, and saying Alien X had to create any other spatial dimensions at the fourth is merely headcanon or simply untrue, especially since some dimensions over concepts even beyond just the universe, such as the seventh dimension, which is associated with disconnected universes with different laws of physics, as we saw in the episode The Forge of Creation, which have nothing to do with the classic universe. Man of Action even backs this up, stating that Intellects only had to create at least one dimension when recreating the universe. Yeah, I mean, the state. Yeah, they're kind of talking about the Annihilorg universe because, spoiler, there's a difference between a dimension in Ben 10 and an Annihilorg universe. Obviously, because of terminology inconsistencies with Ben 10, sometimes the Annihilorg universe could be called a dimension. Sometimes a dimension in the Annihilorg universe is called a universe. It's very varied.
Exactly. So it's like he's trying to present it as a spatial universe when that is not at all what just a dimension means. Like the concept of dimension could mean a lot of things. The word dimension. And what you see,
Yeah,
this is another thing that I don't like about Hyperworld. He claims to be this huge Ben 10 fan. He has how much ever plushies, figurines, and shit on Ben 10. He brags about it a lot online, and
Yeah, that is
especially
really
in his link
annoying.
tree. And the thing about it is, he presents himself like he's not knowledgeable at all on the post, and this thread is a giant, major proof on that. So he uses man of action statements, which again, Duncan already stated that man of action has absolutely no say in what goes in Omniverse.
yeah. Also, I want to point out there was a statement by Dwayne McDuffie himself. Let me try to find it. I think it's in my
It was in
gallery.
general.
Let me just pull it. The statement says, okay, there was someone who asked Dwayne McDuffie, who decides what scrap of information should be revealed outright in an episode or here or in general? I do. That's what Dwayne McDuffie answered. He also said, nothing I say here is canon, bro. He blatantly said author statements are not canon in Ben 10.
In my opinion, I believe that they can be if nothing um contradicts the canon. But for the sake of this video and the argument, then yeah, author statements are not canon.
Yeah, I will understand someone who says that author statements can work, but for me personally, I don't like using a lot of author statements. I think
Unless
the
it's backed up
word
by
the work
canon.
should speak for itself. All right, let's get into the 10th screenshot. They didn't specify which dimension, and the wording of this answer is weird. They could be indicating that the dimension that was recreated was the fourth dimension, or they could be saying that the only. Okay, I want to talk about the fourth dimension. Isn't the fourth dimension time or temporal dimension?
The fourth dimension is time, yes. Time and
Or they
space
could
is
be saying that the
inherently
only
fourth
the fifth,
dimensional.
or that they could be saying that only the first dimension was created, and then as a result, sorry, and then as a result, the rest followed. However, that doesn't make much sense with what I've previously established, as said dimensions aren't destroyed in the first place. So it means that the former. So it must mean the former. As for Alien X, himself being 26 dimensional, there's nothing that confirms this. Celestial sapiens are stated to be extra dimensional by man of action, meaning they're at least 4D. There's also the statement from a Ben 10 game that the celestial sapiens transcended our plane of existence. Please, Factual, put that statement in so I don't look like an idiot
Yeah, don't worry, I
if you
have
find
them. Don't
it.
worry. That's
And
actually
we
a
see that Alienix.
retconned. It's actually a retcon statement. It's been consistently restated in merchandise and games, but this was before Ultimate Alien and the whole Forge of Creation shit. So yeah, so like I think this was like by Alien Force, where they decided that the Celestial Sapiens home would be like a star or something like that.
Yeah, then. Celestial sapiens. Okay, let's go back. And we see that Alienix can easily cut through a fifth dimensional construct, making him at least 5D. I mean, everything was 5D back there because, Paradox. As for Serena stating that they're the most powerful being, not beings, in. Okay, screenshot 11. In the universe, in Alex's debut, they're the same two jobbers who failed to make a single decision over eons. I mean, yeah, that's kind of how Celestial Sapiens work. And being made a fool of against the Galactic Gladiator in terms of decisiveness, the defining factor between Celestial Sapiens and an ultimate alien, their authority was overridden by Paradox, who was able to remove Ben from his Alien X form despite being stated that Ben could only de-transform if it was put to a vote. Not only this, but they were unable to get rid of Paradox while he was within their mind space, even when both Belkis and Serena agreed on destroying him. Ben doesn't actually need to agree with Belkis and Serena for anything, he's just supposed to be the tiebreaker and voice of reason. I mean, let's talk about the Paradox one first.
Okay, so I think his argument has merit, but at the same time, it kind of falls flat by Omniverse because, as stated in Omniverse, Celestial Sapiens are able to manipulate the art style and overall plot of Ben 10, including the voice actors and shit. So, and Paradox was one of them, which means Paradox is not above the Celestial Sapiens' power, as shown.
Or at
And
least he
this
is
was,
in comparable range.
and what?
Yeah, at least he's in comparable ranges or close.
Yeah. So I think that's obviously a easy one to debunk.
We all know that celestial sapiens change the universe as often as my client changes his shirt. Okay, bad example. But my point, and I do have one, is that celestial sapiens change the universe all the time. Why, even first thinker Asma's voice and appearance has changed on at least 3 occasions. For all we know, celestial sapiens are out there changing the universe at this.
Because okay,
Also,
also I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
he
about
fundamentally under
Paradox shouldn't have been affected by that if he's above them. Like, I mean, the worst part is that most people in the Twitter community are gonna be recommending this every time you say Ben 10 solos. Ugh.
uh, okay, that's okay. You
I
might.
mean
Okay, I
I
don't know
mean they
if this is
actually
gonna
had two
happen,
threads
but
that
if this,
that debunked Hyperworld that debunked this thread and so like two users already debunked this thread. One made a video on it and another one made a counter thread. And Hyperworld actually agreed with
yeah,
most of the debunked points, so yeah.
Oh, really? Can you link them to me?
Oh yeah, sure. Hold on. But keep talking by the time. Narsh.
thanks. Also, it's Naoki now.
Now,
Anyways,
okay.
the reason why decisions have only been made. Also, I want to return to Paradox. When Belkis and Serena agreed to destroy Paradox, that's because he was in their mind space. When he left, that's they kind of said, okay, he left. Good, right? What do you think, guys?
Was that he left one?
Yeah.
Alright then, let's go to screenshot number 12. The reason why decisions have only been made with Ben's agreement is because Ben proposed them and sometimes gave good arguments as to why Belkis and Serena should agree, like we saw against the Galactic Gladiator. Bro. We know that Belkis and Serena had been arguing over millions of topics over eons, but could never come to an agreement and neither could see a good reason to comply as they didn't have a voice of reason. Celestial Sapiens only have two personalities between them to make decisions. Ben being there for Alien X just helped them out, meaning Paradox did completely nullify Alien X's attempt to get rid of. Okay, again, the moment Paradox left, Belkis and Serena were good. He left. So I don't think there's a reason for her, you know, killing Paradox because he did what he's supposed to do. Leave, right? So let's go back. Meaning Paradox is completely enough for Alex attempt to get rid of him. This is probably why Paradox hasn't already been dealt with by Celestial Sapiens, has just been given a rule not to approach them by 500 light years, because Celestial Sapiens don't have power to do anything to him. Again, the Omniverse art style and recreation, they're clearly at least comparable. Going back to Nalgians, we know little to nothing about them, so it's only really headcanon to say Celestial Sapiens are above them. But the opposite can also be applied. We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
say that
this
the
can also be
Nalgians,
applied, especially since we have no direct confirmation on what dimensionality the cosmic mom is. They're not stated to be
yeah. Or
26D or anything like that. They could just perceive that much.
also for the Men of Action post, uh, let's read this again. Question 3. Aren't Nalgians 26 dimensional beings and second most powerful alien race just after omnipotent Celestial Sapiens? Aren't Celestial Sapiens above dimension? I mean, they're not bound by dimension.
Yeah, I know.
Man of Action answer. The universe is not fully explored. There's no way to give definitive ranking of most to least powerful species, they said in the known universe. That has been revealed in Ben 10. The Nazareth appear to be the second most powerful, but then again, there's an alien destructor, so they obviously aren't that powerful. Is there anyone else between them and Celestial Sapiens? Is there an entity or entities more powerful than Celestial Sapiens? We have to keep some secrets and surprises for the future for part 2. Yes, Celestial Sapiens are extra dimensional beings. Okay, this statement is weird. They said beyond dimensional beings, at least that's the question what said, and then Manufacturing said they're extra dimensional. So, hmm, we know little to nothing about them. So it's all. I mean, also the Nalgian Destructor is not about the Nalgians, but I think he tackles that later. Let's go to it. By Manufacturing, while the same statement
No,
stating that the
wait,
possibility.
guys. Hear me out. Lodestar's 26D because he damaged the Nalgene Destructor.
Okay, not gonna lie, I'm gonna use that rat. I'm gonna use that rat.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm
Uh,
cooking. I'm cooking.
you don't have
26D
to cook
Lodestar is
shit.
now. 26D Lodestar is now. Today is that day.
Aura.
Oh, why? Why hyper man? The Nalgian Destructor. Okay, let's go back. While in the same statement stating that the possibility, this is more like they're implying, of an alien more powerful than Alien X. Um, okay, well, I do agree that Man of Action has approved over Alien X's existence. Because, if I remember correctly, there was a statement by Dwayne McDuffie that said that Man of Action saw all the Alien Force aliens and agreed upon them, which include Alien X. So Man of Action is somewhat directed for, or has a form of authority in LNX because they approved of him. The
Well,
Nalgene Destructor was.
that's actually weird. That's actually weird because of the fact that Duncan already stated that Man of Action. Well, I guess this is just like Omniverse exclusively. But yeah, he says they have no authority over Omniverse. So you'll see Hyper will using like Man of Action Q&A for Omniverse stuff. Like we could just disregard all that.
Yeah. Also, if I remember correctly, Hyperworld doesn't always approve of author statements from Man of Action, and especially Duncan Willow and other threads like the feedback thread,
Yeah,
etc.
Those
We
that's
can get
another
guys
into
just
them.
reason.
being a
That's another
hypocrite.
reason why I don't like Hyperworld because he obviously does not like author statements, but he would gladly use author statements if it agrees with his agenda that he's pushing on
Yeah,
his thread.
I hate to say it, but I don't really think we're any better because like it feels as if almost everybody cherry picks statements because they only take it seriously as long as it agrees with them. Like
I mean,
let's just deal with it, bro.
I don't mind if the statement downgrades my character. It's just that if it's contradicted by canon or if it's not from somebody credible, then yeah, I will say something about it.
It's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, also, I think we could say man of action statements on Omniverse would fall into appeal to false authority because,
Yeah,
they have nothing.
and the fact that that man of action and DJW, or well, Derek J. Wyatt answers questions pertaining to Anno Vladius, which is not a canon planet, as stated in many various pop-ups and in the main episode, Vampire Strikes Back. Anno Transil is the planet that Vladat and Transilians originated from. So yeah, I think that
Transil? Oh, yeah.
that
Inner Vladius was apparently
Wouldn't
the
that just
planet
mean that
for.
Ben Victor's 26D as well? He can
stop,
survive something that
stop,
can kill 26D beings.
stop, dude, stop.
I think this is more of hacks. At least what's Hyperworld implying. But let's go back. Okay. We, okay. We also assume that
Oh,
Nalgenians live for longer than Celestial Sapiens, since it takes tens of thousands of years for a Celestial Sapien to be considered mature. Also showing us that time affects. Again, Dwayne McDuffie said that statements here are not canon. They didn't enter the show, thus they're not canon.
Shit.
Thank you so much, man. Not like age equals power, but just again, Celestial Sapiens are not 10,000 something years old because Dwayne McDuffie said his statements here are not canon. Not like
My
um,
Ishmael.
nigga.
Okay, not only this.
also, wouldn't Celestial Siblings would be older than the Cosmic Mom though, because once again, the entire universe originated from the Forge of Creation, which birthed the universe.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Not
so
only not
that
only
that was
this, but
it.
Dwayne McDuffie also states that not not only this, but Dwayne McDuffie also says that Alien X isn't even the most powerful alien in the Omnitrix. If anything, based on what we have, Nalgene scale higher, and while it's possible that Nalgene's DNA, if they have any, could be within the Omnitrix, there's no proof of it, so we don't know if Dwayne was referring to Nalgene's or not. Again, Dwayne McDuffie's statements are not canon, dude. And also, I think there was
Hyperworld
I
retarded,
think
my
there
guy.
was a statement. Guys, can I say this? I think there was a statement about Dwayne McDuffie is saying after the statement that LNX is the most powerful in the Omnitrix, or at least
No, after this that
don't.
this particular statement was in Alien Force, and this was before Ultimate Alien. This, as you if you look at the time the statement was in 2009. Ultimate Alien came out in 2010, which then states that Celestial Sapiens were the most powerful in the universe.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out that when we're talking about the universe in that context,
Would you look at
the
that
people
nigga?
actual please.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait,
Age thing doesn't really matter, especially that if you're gonna try. I think he's trying to argue that Celestial Sapiens are bound by time, which, for one, there's the feat of Alien X recreating the universe, where he existed in space with no time. Like, there was no time or space, they were all erased.
no, no, no.
And
Hyperworld
secondly,
in the first few screenshots already admitted that Alien X is not bound by time.
huh, weird, I thought he did. I swear, I read this multiple times.
No, no, no. He said
Speaking of Celestial
he talked
Sapiens.
about why Alien X couldn't rebuild the universe, why he couldn't stop it, and why he had to rebuild it because time and space were erased and stuff. So yeah, he knows he's not bound by time. He even calls Alien X 40 after that. So yeah.
Alright then. So let's go back. Okay. Alright then. Speaking of Celestial Sapiens located to animation. Okay, so where should we go now? The corner randomization barrier?
Yeah. That's not. I think. Hold on. I think something wrong with the recording there. You just do over the Nalgene part with the age, and then we can move on.
Oh, so Rita, I didn't hear you exactly.
I said I think something was going on with the recording. If you could just do over the Nalgene part with the age, and then we can move on.
Okay then. What was the middle point? Okay, so we need to talk about stuff like the null void. Oh, the 17 dimensions, right. I really need to talk about this. Can I talk about this, please?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Which screenshot is this?
This is screenshot 21.
Screenshot 21, hang on.
Yeah, the map of infinity one.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So
This
I want to talk
isn't
about the map
stated
of
to
infinity.
be, this isn't stated to be, 17 special dimensions. Well, I mean, that's true, but Duncan was actually asked this, and he said it was in the physics sense, which is spatial dimensions. So, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. I was gonna say this. Like, he Hyperworld uses a lot of author statements, yet when his argument doesn't hold up, he really either doesn't use them or uses the weakest interpretation of something without
I
author
actually,
statements.
I actually
This is the
confronted,
greatest
I
example of
actually
this.
confronted him on this. He said that he was not aware of these screenshots of those author statements. But I told him, how could you not be aware is if you can pluck them straight from the wiki.
What did he say exactly?
He, uh, he and a friend on Twitter was arguing. He and my friend on Twitter was arguing about peak forearms now, and he brought up forearms mm, being dogged by Calder or whatever the blue Tetraman was. And my friend brought up him beating Luma, and he said that doesn't matter because forearms isn't the strongest. And my friend was arguing that forearms is the strongest because he beat Luma. And well, then Hyperworld brought up um the fact that Ben does not turn into the peak of the species or the strongest. I told him that he turns into the most optimized version of the alien as stated by Matt Dwayne. And that does not necessarily mean he's the strongest. And he's admitted that that is true. And I also called him a tourist because he uses author statements exactly as you said to push his agenda. Yet when something disagrees with him, he doesn't post up that. He said that he have you ever thought about me not being aware of these author statements? And yeah, I have. But the thing is that they are that all of my author statements I either got from you or 90% of them were on the wiki. So you could not, how could you not know about them when it's right in the references? There's even a section dedicated to author statements in the wiki.
Yeah, I know about this. So, cool. So overall, we can disregard the 17 dimension thing. Also, I want to point out something very important. If I remember correctly, Paradox stated that all of time and space is in the hyper time stream, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, wouldn't that include the 17 and 26 dimensions?
yes, it would.
So Alien X would scale to it based on his universe recreating feat, because the timeline is part of the universe.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, overall, his argument that Alien X would only be 5D are blatantly false.
Okay, what about the next one where he calls the map of infinity's sole purpose isn't just reaching the forge of creation, but even if the forge is 17D, that doesn't equal celestial. What? Hold on, what? No, 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 no. What? That is what? But even if the forge of creation is 17D, that doesn't equal the celestial sapiens being 17D. I mean, I get where the logic is coming from, but that is um bullshit because
Wrong.
we see in Omniverse that the celestial sapiens changed how their home looked, changed how the Forge of Creation looked when the episode Universe with Tennyson came out.
Look. I think Hyperworld will probably use that Celestial Sapiens need each other. Like, it's stated that Celestial Sapiens are the one changing how everything looks, right?
Oh, trust me, somebody. I actually was dealing with somebody on Twitter that said that already, saying that it's all the celestial sapiens. I asked him where the proof of that. He could not say anything. They had no proof that is all the celestial sapiens that needed.
I mean, even if that's the case, there's still the Chrono Navigator. Like a baby celestial sapien is already above the Chrono Navigator, which can destroy all of creation.
True.
Thank you, pal. Okay then. So, of course, we disagree with the argument that celestial sapiens don't scale to the 17 and 26 dimensions because, first of all, the hypertime stream contains all of space and time, which would include all dimensions. And of course, a baby celestial sapien is omnipotent to Paradox, and Paradox blatantly stated that celestial that the Chrono Navigator can destroy all of creation. Also, omnipotence, about the definition of omnipotence, as I've recently been kind of returning back to it. Omnipotence can also mean a form of supremacy or power over something. After all, omnipotent as a word is used mostly in religious context to mostly talk about how the god of said religion is all powerful and above everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think you can make an argument that omnipotence can also mean I'm back. Okay, so you can make an argument that omnipotence could also mean a form of supremacy over something, meaning that celestial sapiens could be over paradox. Because let's assume that paradox is comparable to celestial sapiens, even though we agree that this is bullshit. Even if that's the case, then why is he so afraid of a baby celestial sapien? Why is he afraid that Agregor could take their power? I also talk about the Agregor thing because absorption, power absorption, all that. We'll get there when we reach that section of the thread. Okay.
I mean, I don't think Agregor can absorb paradox. Do you think Agregor can absorb paradox? Like,
I'm talking about the baby celestial sapien.
I know, but do you think, like, hypothetically, do you think Agregor could absorb paradox? Like, obviously, he can absorb the Chrono Navigator because that's an external device, but, like,
I mean, honestly, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm just gonna say if he can absorb a baby celestial sapien, then I kind could kind of see him absorbing paradox. The issue is speed. I don't think he can keep up with paradox.
that's true.
Okay, let's go back to the thread.
Yeah.
Okay, so we jump. So we can skip all things about dimensions. Let's get into the art style
No,
change. This
actually,
is
I
very
think I
important.
think this is actually important with the dimensions. He's talking about like the forge of creation is that dimension too. Wait, what? How? What? The forge of creation is not a dimension. That doesn't make sense. I think Dagon's dimension because
What? You said the first.
I could be wrong. There are certain numbers of dimensions in the verse that haven't been shown to us onto the other infant species to get Alien X to Incredible Heights. They are say the worst one. Alright, first of all, let's go back to that one. We'll come back to that. The forge of creation is a dimension too. That makes absolutely no sense because the forge of creation being a dimension would mean that it's within the universe, which it is not. It is outside the universe. It predates the universe.
I mean, I could kind of see where he was confused because Benton terminology is annoying.
That's
The
true.
cosmology and blog on Versus Battle Wiki highlighted that. But basically, remember when Asmus said that celestial sapiens have the greatest power in the universe?
Yeah.
I think the confusion comes from the fact that the Forge of Creation, if I remember correctly, was included in the context of the celestial sapiens are really overpowered,
Oh, also I
right?
forgot. Yeah, that's true. Also, I forgot to mention that the map of infinity isn't in the last one, in the one before the purpose, the map of infinity, soul purpose one, where he talk about the dimensions. He mentions that the map of infinity is stated to extend through 17 dimensions. It's also stated that the map of infinity could allow the person to control space and time. space time.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of something similar to how some Dragon Ball Super statements say that, oh, this character surpassed the speed of light. It's kind of something similar where, yeah, they did surpass the speed of light, but they went much higher. And the statements don't imply that they are just slightly faster than light. They're just saying they are. That's it. I think the map of infinity saying that it can control all of space and time, which should include all 26 dimensions because that's how dimensionality works. Uh, I think that could work. 17 dimensions being spread across could be something information about azimuth, something that he only knows. Because Azimuth is not the smartest guy ever in the verse. That honor goes to the likes of Paradox. And if you really want to cheese it, you can say the ghost ship, but there's nothing implying that.
That's true.
So yeah, I can see the argument saying that Azimuth just said, oh, 17 dimensions, but he didn't specify that this is the limit, like, at all. So I think we can argue that it can spread across 26 dimensions. I personally don't want to use it because I don't think it was mentioned in the show. It was mentioned in supplementary material, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly for it, but I can see where it's coming from, and I'm not 100% against it. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, this part of the thread is gonna be important because we're gonna go over to some interesting stuff. Should we go over the changing the art style? I see you debate this on Twitter before. Maxwell?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was typing up something there.
That's okay.
What was the question?
So, we're going into screenshot number, I think, 24 or something like
It's
that.
just like
Uh,
some guy on Twitter that said that Bugs Bunny could enter the real world or something like that before he beats the next. I was trying to say, I was typing that Bugs Bunny entering the real world is breaks the law of non-contradiction because you can't be fictional and be in the real world at the same time. That's not how logic works. Like I'm really
that really reminds me.
yeah, go on.
That reminds me of Gwen. Gwenpool from Marvel Comics. I think, oh, she's omnipotent. She's really OP, but like, it's mostly just an ability that doesn't exactly put her above everyone. It's just something. I don't think fourth wall breakers and people who see something as fiction are that OP. It always will depend on the context of the verse. For
No, no.
example,
People
some
saying
verses.
something as people saying something as fiction is important because that's REF transcendence. But like
Yeah,
when people say shit like, oh, they entered the real world, oh, they killed their authors, they beat up their authors, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever because then they would have news and thing on it or like an obituary or something like that. Because as you said, they came into the real world and killed their authors. Like, okay, then why are the people from Deadpool kills the Marvel universe still alive because he came into the Marvel editorial building and killed everyone, and yet some of them are still alive to this day. It's just a
I mean,
a controlled narrative.
yeah, pretty much. I This argument is just really stupid. I just don't see a reason in it. I mean, it does give the character either an argument for a higher dimension or straight up qualitative superiority over the lower dimension. But saying that it's outright an ability to transcend the fictional stories is just stupid. Everyone is bound. Every single fictional character is bound by fiction.
That's true. That's true. Every single fictional character is bound by fiction.
Speaking of this, we need to talk about this part of the thread,
Yeah,
specifically the art style change.
yeah, yeah. Um, I'm just like you, just trying to focus on the thread, and I keep going off key.
Huh. Yeah, it does happen. So how about we talk about the art style change?
So that's just because no, they and they will fictional does view it in the same way we do. And are changing as unknowingly knowing that they are changing the appearance of a show that is viewed by people in the real world. However, when it comes to voicing, I get the confusion is also changing over means that voice actors for the character in the real world changes too. However, it's not like the Celestial Sapiens decided purposefully to switch a character's voice actor, rather the voice actor changing as a result of their actions is more of an indirect result. But what? Okay, hold on. Even if it's an indirect result, that still means that they have control indirectly over it, though. Like, that still means something.
I mean, this is like the other side of the coin in narrative fictional transcendence. Like, yes, in the context of outside, either the voice actor died or something, but in the context of the show itself, the fiction, the actor was changed because the Celestial Sapiens wanted it.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm? Yeah, pretty much. I There's also like statements from Joe Kelly and Duncan Mallow about Celestial Sapiens being above the plot, if I remember correctly. And I mean, if Hyperworld wants to say that statements, even without basis, can be used, and as long as they don't contradict the show, they can be used, why don't we use this as well?
True, true.
There's also like the Celestial. Look, if Hyperworld's logic is that Celestials, like, sorry, if Hyperworld's logic is that we can use statements as long as they don't contradict the show, then I can also use the statements of Celestial Sapiens viewing the Ben 10 franchise as a storybook. There's nothing backing it up, but so is the existence of Enor Vladius. Like, if you're gonna do this, you might as well do that.
What was the statement? Okay. By the same logic, if there's a voice actor with only one role in the series, and that one character that said voice actors plays dies, basically they are murdered, and the murderer basically put that voice actor out of the role, leaving them with no one else to play. But that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make the murderer above fiction. What? What is this argument? Hold on. By that same logic, if there's a voice actor with only one role in the series, and that one character that the voice actor plays dies because they are murdered, the murderer basically put that voice actor out of role, leaving them with no one else to play. But that doesn't make the murderer above fiction. What? Okay, I read it twice and I still don't understand. I can't wrap my brain around this. First of all, the murderer would not have um murdered the the voice actor. That's the point of Celestial Sapiens changing the voice actors and everything that is stated in the show. If a character is murdered in the show, then they are murdered in the show. And most of the time, voice actors have more than one roles 9 times out of 10, because the voice actor for Gwen plays Sunny as well. So I don't know what his logic is. If Gwen dies, then Sunny is still there with the same voice actor. Hello?
I mean, what can we say? Yeah, this argument is just very weird. Also, I'm still really stuck with him using Enor Vladius, yet ignoring other statements that go against it. And Enor Vladius, can we talk about Enor Vladius?
We ain't finished this one yet though, because it still have the one where second
Oh,
and Celestial
okay
Sapiens
then.
are portrayed by writers as being weaker when they are making decisions on their own, and stronger, more capable when they are in a group. That does not make sense at all. But okay. Oh, that doesn't make sense
I
at
mean,
all.
Celestial Sapiens can clone. Celestial Sapiens can clone themselves. There's that.
That's true.
So yes, I don't agree with his logic. Like the same goes for like Echo and Ditto. Like Samta, in that case, you could just make a copy, a duplicate of yourself, and help yourself out. So I just don't exactly see the point where he's coming with. Okay, let's continue. Both manufacturing directly wide it that if a celestial sapiens could enter Vladius on their own, they would die. Again, enter Vladius is not canon. That's not how canon works. So many wikis and rules in versus debating at least say that you should back up the existence of something through canon. Enter Vladius is
They go in.
never stated to be
Alright,
canon,
later.
not once.
Yeah, and even then, multiple pop-ups which I'll edit in the video state that that Anno Transil is where Vladats originated from. Even the show itself, Dr. Victor talked about Vladats ruling Anno Transil and putting his race into slavery.
Yeah, simply put, Enter Vladius has nothing for it in canon. I just don't exactly see why you should use something that's clearly not canon. And again, I just feel like he's pretty hypocritical in using author statements. Or maybe he doesn't know, similar to how he didn't know about the 17 dimension statements. But it is what it is.
Also the fact that
I'm just gonna start taking.
Also, the fact that this is proof that
Yeah.
Derek J. Wyatt doesn't know what he talks about half of the time, and same with the Man of Action Q&A, because Man of Action actually answered the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, remember this. There was a statement about celestial sapiens being the greatest power in the universe. That context, if I remember correctly, did include stuff like the Forge of Creation, which is outside the universe, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so again, his argument doesn't make sense. Or it's just not supported by the show. Ah, so many more arguments here. Also, let's read the
The
screenshot.
thread is
And we
filled
know
with
that
poor
decisions wasn't
arguments.
made by. Hmm?
The thread is filled with poor arguments.
So many author statements, so many low interpretations, so many ignoring the show itself sometimes. Like, of course, the thread was going to be attacked. Of course, many people will not like it because you're spreading misinformation. I've already
And
seen people
and he
unironically say that the thread is good. Like, someone said that Hyperworld is like Jesus because, oh, he said the truth that nobody agrees with. Nobody agrees with him for a reason.
the hyperbole meat writing is crazy, but okay. Um,
I think
what?
it's because a lot. I think it's because a lot of. Hey, I think Hyperworld is meat ridden because a lot of people just don't like Ben 10. They don't support men. They just don't like him being powerful. They want to debunk him and use many debunks just to say he doesn't beat Green Lantern. He is not that powerful. You guys overrank him, etc., etc., etc.
I mean, they're not wrong,
And
but at the
Hyperworld
same
is just
time, that's
feeding them.
really a dumb way to dislike a good character.
But you could I understand that Ben has lots of criticism, mainly with his character, and some I actually agree with, but Ben is a really good and sometimes really well written character, mainly in stuff like Alien Force Season 1 and 2, and many parts of Omniverse, some parts in Ultimate Alien, and lots of parts in Ben 10 Classic.
True. It's best to honestly just ignore all the idiots because there are people like what 12 years later that still think Ben 10 has a no kill rule, which is just bullshit. But okay, like I've seen so much fan fiction about Ben basically being
Okay,
edgier than
Ben having an
Batman.
over. Uh, why do people think Ben has a no kill rule? He's genuinely killed many people before and sometimes with no regret.
Yeah. Just give me a minute, right? I'll come in.
Let's go back.
Yeah, I'll come in.
Hmm? Screenshot number 27.
Yeah, that was it. Anna
Celestial
Vladia.
Sapiens able. Yeah, Honor of Gladius. We've already kind of debunked this already with how Honor of Gladius just isn't connected, isn't really canon because Honor Transil is right there.
Yeah.
Nothing is shown. Nothing is nothing is shown to contradict it either, as far as I'm aware. And the only argument I've heard against this is nonsense. Obviously, Celestial Sapiens wouldn't have an issue with magic to omnipotent. I mean, the statement from Dwayne McDuffie himself, which you used, by the way, literally said that they would can rewrite mana. They can rewrite magic if they wanted to.
No, he actually talks about this
And
later.
also, which are hardly arguments, especially after this thread. Especially after this thread, bro thinks he's smart. Bro thinks he's like a master of truth. Uh, tell people that androids can't be scanned into the Omtrix. People will say, but Alienix is omnipotent and he's using the Omtrix, therefore androids should be there. We know that androids are a magical being, and it's stated multiple times. Celestial sapiens are. What do you mean stated multiple times? Alien. He said that celestial sapiens are vulnerable to magic. This is blatantly false. Like, if I remember correctly, Ultimate Humongosaur was able to resist some magic hacks. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm wrong. I just remember something about Humongosaur resisting some of Gwen's abilities.
Well, technically multiple events aliens did it. Goes Big
Hmm?
Chill was able to like break out of a sphere of mana without phasing, and Humongous Soul is able to break out of a sphere of dense mana.
Déjame salir. Aléjense de ahí. And there you shall remain for eternity. A living testament to the fate of those who dare oppose my will.
I mean, yeah, like, in what way do you think Celestial Sapiens are vulnerable to magic? Because what magic are you talking about? Because are you talking about Gwen? Well, no, she gets bitched pretty badly. Are you talking about other characters? Because from what we've seen, magic users get interesting hacks, but nothing on the level of Celestial Sapiens.
True.
Yeah, like, I'm not denying Gwen, she's pretty hacksy. Like, there's a reason I think Gwen shit stomps Atom Eve from Invincible. She unironically solos the verse. But comparing her to Alien X is like comparing Atom Eve to a Green Lantern at full power.
Yep.
Okay, then let's go. Let's go
Um.
back. Okay.
Okay. So let's see here. Um. The mana one. Okay. This he talks about Celestial Sap. We've never seen Celestial Sapien single-handedly do anything on a multiversal scale. I mean, I've kind of already scaled this. There's actually multiple statements that suggest that our universe is a multiverse. So yeah.
Yeah, like when Generator Rex met Ben once again, there's an infinite amount of dimensions in the universe.
Ben was a cool kid. I wonder if I'll ever see him again.
With infinite dimensions, the
Especially with Kevin considering things such as the null void part of the universe.
Yep. No,
So
let's
yeah, I don't exactly.
you know
Hmm?
exactly what.
Yeah, Kevin blatantly stated he thought the universe was everything, which would include other dimensions he saw before. Here, let's go to the.
No, it's the magic one. The magic one.
Yeah, here. Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alien X is omnipotent and he's in the Omnitrix, therefore Anadites should be too. We know that Anadites are magical beings, and as stated multiple times, celestial sapiens are vulnerable to magic, just like any other species. Any other species? That's a fucking lie. I
What?
mean, that
Hold on.
celestial sapiens
What?
have. I mean, I guess he's saying that you can like some of the hacks of magic users, which no.
First of all, no, no one ever said that celestial sapiens are vulnerable to mana. Duncan, what's his name? Yeah, Matt just said that he can't manipulate it by itself, so that makes no sense. So why is he saying that?
I have no idea. Like, okay, he also said that celestial sapiens have mana in them, like any other living species. There's no source of this. There's literally no source of this.
They also said that he's vulnerable like any other species, but there's like Terraspin who's immune and Chromastone and Feedback who can absorb it. So like what? And also Ectonerize are immune to it as well because they have no mana.
Yeah, simple don't see where his arguments are coming from. Very weak. Also, thank you for reminding me of Terraspin. That's such a good argument against him. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue reading. That's how they're
It's really
alive, and
easy
that's
that
how they
that
can't be.
sorry for interrupting. It's really easy to forget that Terraspin actually has useful resistances. Like I keep forgetting that Terraspin is immune to magic. I just recently remembered it because I came across a thread on like who would win Ainz or Goal or Benton, and somebody brought up the fact that Terraspin would solo because he's immune to all magic, and I just completely forgot about that, to be honest.
Pretty much the same. I mean, there is the fact that Terraspin needs to focus to use his abilities, but that's pretty much the same like reboot Alien X, where he needs to focus to show his full power.
I mean, technically, reboot Alien X. Well, as Absolute Abstract put up on CSAP or and versus BattleWiki, the reboot cosmology
Research and
contradict
profile
the
wiki.
original cosmology. But not only that, yes, it's canon to the original, but there's also the fact that the context within the movie is that Ben's destroyed his watch, his Omnitrix, in order to transform into Alien X. So it's obviously an incomplete transformation, and it's backed up by the fact that we see Ben moving immediately, which is not possible because, well, Celestial Sapiens supposed to debate on literally everything, and they cannot move until they debate on to move.
I mean, the guy blinks for out loud. I don't think Celestial Sapiens always blink. Do you remember any moment in canon and
No,
Prime
no,
where they blinked?
no.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, he is. I remember Kuro saying that Reboot Alien X is the coolest Alien X, at least in visuals, but I wholeheartedly disagree. I think Omniverse Alien X is much cooler.
I don't know why people hate the omnibus design because I think it's because his body was disproportionate. Like his upper torso looks crimson chinny from Fairly Odd Parents, but his legs look skinny as hell.
I mean, I kind of like it. It reminds me of Lucifer's final form from Shin Megami Tensei 5. I don't know why. It feels like so omnipotent like.
That's true.
Let's continue back to the thread. Okay.
Yeah.
We see this from Verdona, for example, when repairing Gwen's house. Again, I did discuss this with the gang. He said that that when Verdona fixed everything back, he said this is reality warping, but this is more likely to be matter manipulation. Just because someone changed something or scenery, that doesn't mean it's always reality warping. It could be something like, I don't know, matter manipulation.
Or time manipulation.
Yeah, pretty much too. cook offenders, as well as reverting Ben Kevin back to the regular states. I mean, or for example, Archie Sonic has a clear distinct between reality warping and matter manipulation. When he's ultrasonic, he just waves his hands and uses matter manipulation. But that's a topic for another day. I don't want to talk about Archie Sonic for now. Anodites are most likely extra dimensional beings. I have no statements for this. Of course you do, because it's not true.
Wait, what? Say that again? There's nothing contradicting my statements if I was to say an anodite can be a celestial statement. If anything, there's only evidence to support this claim. You're right, brother man. What? There's literally
You
not
also
a
see.
single feat that an Anodite has that is on par with Celestial Sapiens. At best, you can say that the only good Anodite we've seen so far is like what the only Anodite we've seen so far is Grandma Verduna, Sunny, and Gwen. And Gwen is the only one that have the best feats because well, she's around most of the time, and Grandma Verduna skills above Gwen, but at the same time, Gwen literally has no universal feats also like you could scale her to like what star level maybe large star level. I'm not really a Gwen. I never really scale Gwen, so I'm just like basing it off of where I think she would upscale from certain aliens from Ben. But yeah, that makes no sense because even if because okay, he's using statements that first of all he never even used a statement about celestial sapiens being vulnerable to magic, but there is this one DJW statement that says that there is a spell to get rid of Alien X's omnipotence, and then when asked what if Alien X like erased the spell before they fired it out, he said he can do anything. So, like, take that how you will because that's a fact, I guess, because he's using author statements, might as well.
Oh my god, I love using author statements against him because so many arguments that he's trying to lowball, like he's trying to lowball aliens based off of author statements, but then these author statements come back to bite him in the ass. I love
Okay,
it.
okay, hold on. Especially since we've seen most of the what analyzer capable. Yeah, we've seen what they're capable of. They're not even on universal level with celestial sapiens. So that's real bullshit. But we
I
know
mean,
that
you
they.
can.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, you can try to cheese and argue that Maltruant wasn't destroyed entirely by the Big Bang, hence Ben could potentially be comparable to the Big Bang. But Walcatron survived the Big Bang. Is Walcatron multiversal? Does Walcatron solo Dragon Ball?
No.
It's yes. See, that's the point. I just don't think characters like Gwen are like universal.
Okay, hold on.
At best, they're
Especially
like
since we haven't seen what most of what analytes are capable. So, but we know what that they are very overpowered when they are experienced such as what? Okay. So all you know is that you never see what they're capable of, but they just overpowered, therefore they beat Alien X. What kind of bullshit argument is this? It's also stated that magic has no rules by the greatest magician of all time, Bezel. Yeah, they have no rules. They don't follow any universal law, but they could still be manipulated by manipulating the universe as per your statement from earlier though. Like, what? Dog, this
so it's
guy
really
though.
just no limits. So it's really no limits fallacy versus no limits fallacy. Really, that's not really how it works. That's not how that works.
That's not how that works,
It
especially if there's no context for it. Okay, so like for example, Itachi says that nobody can beat him when he has his Sharingan activated or something, but that's obviously cap because he's been beaten before or anything like that. But Alien X is consistently, I mean, obviously Alien X saying Alien X can do anything that is a no limits fallacy. But the fact that it comes from
look.
Alien X having seen he has infinite potential or infinite powers or shit like that. So it's not really a no limits fallacy in reality without that context.
I mean, look, he even said he compared it to also Linux can do anything versus magic can do anything. He twisted Bezel's words. He twisted Bezel's words so it can fit his agenda.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's just dog. This guy though, I don't like him at all.
I mean, I have lots of respect for Hyperworld. I think he's a pretty cool person, but I honestly could see why you personally don't like him, at least in terms of actual power scaling, because
Not just
I don't
power
think if you
scaling.
guys actually met in
It's not just power scaling. It's just he comes off as an arrogant kind of person, and he also comes off like a know-it-all because he's trying. Like, okay, we've already talked about dimension stuff. He's trying to portray himself as knowledgeable about dimensions when he speaks complete nonsense.
I mean, he's kind of like Hamon Beat, that JoJo YouTuber, but if Hamon Beat was more arrogant and less right.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically Hamon Beat if Hamon Beat was wrong or had agenda to push. Okay, let's continue reading. As well as this, the whole gist of magic is that it doesn't make sense. It's magic versus science, aka logic versus anything goes. Buddy, Celestial Sapiens manipulate logic. They're literally the gods of the verse. They can do anything with their mind. If they this isn't logic versus anything goes. This is manipulation of all things, including illogical things, versus if you really want to twist magic and say it's anything goes, go on. But that's just wanking magic. Celestial Sapiens are the anything goes. Magic is just cool beyond logic stuff. Like it isn't even that impressive. Magic is it's strong in Ben 10, but it's not the strongest thing ever in the franchise.
nope. Um.
Which is why it is.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's continue reading. Which is
I know.
why it is magic in the first place. Unlike Ilanex's powers, which I guess you could say don't make sense, as you could say for blocks, as anatomy, for example, as a lot of other things. I mean, it's fiction. Like, fiction has its own rules and sets that we cannot exactly understand because it's a fictional world. He does go on to say that, but I just want to point this out right now.
Hold up,
I don't
hold
want
up,
to
hold
read
up.
the rest of it.
He says, hold up, wait, pause. He says,
Yeah?
anodites are most likely extra dimensional beings. I have no statement. I have no statement for this as well. But in cases such as Ben, they trap themselves into dimensional bodies, human bodies, which limits them, but allows them to maintain their. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Hold on. He admits he has no statement for this, which is automatically a Hitchens razor. Yet he still says that Gwen they trap themselves within 3D bodies to limit themselves. That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, one could argue that, okay, first of all, you could argue the mana itself it gets them higher in terms of hacks because, well, mana is multi-dimensional, which means multiple dimensions.
There was a hacks, right?
Yeah, several dimensions. They're just hacks. But like dimensional embodiment wise,
Yeah.
yeah, nah, they're 3D. They're 3D version. They can manipulate time and shit like future
Yeah.
event. So that's at least like 40 level hacks at best. But yeah,
As Illinois required there to be time to read out time when the Anarch went off. The only issue was that no Anodites survived prevented either the Anarch or the Chronosapien time bomb. So they don't have the same I mean, even if, shouldn't they have just tried to stop the attacks themselves? Celestial Sapiens can another issue I have. He says that an Anodite can kill a Celestial Sapien. The issue is that Celestial Sapiens are leagues faster, and what are they supposed to do? How can they stop something like the Annihilarch? Because simply put, they can't. They literally cannot, even if you give them prep time.
yep.
Axel?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I was
I
saying
said
that.
you didn't hear me?
Hmm?
You
Oh,
didn't
did you
hear
say
me?
something?
I said yeah.
Oh, okay then. So yeah, his argument doesn't stand, to be honest. But doesn't. That doesn't mean their hacks caps their durability. I mean, I agree. The whole point of hacks is that they surpass your durability sometimes. Heck, there's literally an ability called durability negation, where they ignore your durability. But sure, I guess. How I think it could have been seen is that Celestial Sapiens have the better stats and magnitude and lower skill level. Lower skill level, they're nigh omniscient. Whereas Enedites have lower stats, true, but no rules, thus higher hacks. Hyper does Hyperworld genuinely believe if Gwen or any other Enedite had prep time, they could have stopped the Annihilarg or the Chronosapien time bomb?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this. He has no arguments for this. Literally nothing to back him up.
As
Though for all
in,
we know, Celestial Sapiens
hang on.
house
This is
too.
why it is magic in the first place, unless as ENX require there to be time to rewind time when the analog went off. The only issue is that there's no anodites survive prevented either the Annihilag or the Chronosapien time bomb, so they don't have the same durability as Celestial Sapiens. That doesn't mean their hacks cap at their durability. My brother in Christ. What? How
He
I.
says Celestial Sapiens.
Yeah.
He says Celestial Sapiens have lower skill level.
Hang on, give me a second here. Hold on. Sense like Anodites having higher skill level or anything because of the fact that we have some like Galactic Gladiator who's the best fighter among Celestial Sapiens. And the fact that they are cosmically aware, they could literally just like instantly learn other combat techniques or something like that. And they have no rules. What do you mean by they have no rules? The hacks that they use have no rules, but that doesn't mean that they like, higher dimensional.
I mean, even if the statement is very vague, I mean, no rules could potentially mean a form of logic manipulation, if that makes sense, I guess.
But even then, Celestial Sapiens are that too.
Yeah, I mean, they literally have every ability in the verse. I think I have like three scans that support this. So I think you have them, right?
Yeah, I have them, don't worry. I'll put them in.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's go back. Heck. Though, for all we know, Celestial Sapiens may take a long time to get accustomed to their powers too, since they live for so long. We only ever witnessed mature Celestial Sapiens using their powers.
Duh.
Moving on to Celestial Sapien DNA. I mean, no shit, that's literally for every other species. Same goes for a human. A 10-year-old on average would not be comparable to a 25-year-old on average. Moving on to Celestial Sapien DNA, we see that when Sapien DNA is fused with another DNA sample, the fusion becomes significantly weaker than a full Celestial Sapien, to the point they are incomparable in terms of power. We've seen this on three separate occasions. Yes, Class and Kadari would have the same Celestial Sapiens as they're from the same multiverse. I mean, Faxa will take this from here.
Okay. So, first of all, it's okay. So he says that the DNA sample fusion becomes significantly weaker, and with atomic excess defeated by time related once but not twice, right? Well, I mean, it's good that he at least acknowledges some form of like nerf between them because I was afraid that he would have been like everybody else and compared them to the actual real thing. So he has some sense there. But
Yeah.
but he says the Chronosapien time bomb. If we go back to the statement of man action, it states that full celestial sapiens couldn't survive this ether unless they group up in advance. Okay, but that contradicts Duncan saying that he could because they live outside the space time continuum. And once again, Duncan already said that man of action have no say in omnibus. So yeah, timelines
I
are
mean,
on
there's
a
also
fifth dimension. No, they are not. Timelines. Time itself is 40. Timelines are alternate universes, just like different events.
I mean, in the context of Ben 10, timelines are higher, but that's not what he's talking about, so we can just ignore it.
Yeah. Let's see.
I want to go. I mean, there's also the fact that can you please link the cosmology of the reboot to in the video to because I don't know. I feel as people are gonna call us liars and that the reboot is part of the multiverse of Ben 10.
It's canon to the original continuity, but it's just its own continuity, like its own multiverse.
Uh, I mean, Ben 10 has established an omniverse. So there's that.
Yeah,
Okay, and while we have seen fifth dimensional feats from Alien X, okay, this is just blabbering about how fifth dimensional stuff, or third
okay,
dimensional stuff, and again. Okay, this just because a character is fifth dimensional doesn't mean they can survive all fifth dimensional attacks. Just like how we're third dimensional, but that doesn't mean. I mean, no shit. What do you expect? This sounds contradictory with what I've said in previous thread, as I have said that the Chronosapien time bomb is weaker than the Annihilorg. I mean, yeah, no shit. But with doing research for this thread, I have learned more about spatial dimensions.
absolutely nothing, just like before.
I'm going to be honest, I think I have a better understanding of spatial dimensions than Hyperworld. And I
Yeah,
am
you
not
do,
that good, to be honest.
you do. I'm not even gonna lie.
I'm not. I'm not even gonna say that I'm that good. I'm not a good versus debater, but I do know the basics. Let's continue.
Okay.
This also explains why none of the Ben's Omnitrix's failsafes activated to save them, including Prime Ben. Okay, I want to talk about this because this is very important, and I've seen many people use it. For one, the moment that Prime Ben gave no watch Ben, he started disappearing right away. Like we even hear the Omnitrix's sound effects, and Ben immediately starts disappearing after it given to No Watch Ben. So there's that. He literally gave the watch to No Watch Ben. Uh, sec- Second of all, how can I word this right? Well, yeah. Okay, I thought of this. Second of all, I mean, even if say Ben was erased, there is literally a perfect duplicate of Ben. So I don't think the Omnitrix even said, "Oh, I should totally save Ben from the Chrono Sapien time bomb," because there's already another Ben with the Omnitrix.
That and the fact that by this point, even if you want to say that the Omnitrix couldn't save him, that's probably like most part on the Omnitrix and not Alien X because, well, at this point in time, the Omnitrix didn't have defense against time attacks.
Oh yeah, that's before the Mad Ben episode, right?
Yeah, it's before a season before the Mad Ben episode.
Thank you for noticing me. Okay, thanks. So let's go. Of course, we do agree that the Omnitrix cannot create any alien to survive the situation. No shit. If there's no alien in the Omnitrix that can deal with Ben's current situation, then there's nothing the Omnitrix can do to protect its host.
I mean, that's again more of the fact that the Omnitrix was vulnerable to time-based attack. And even then, you could just use the argument that that Prime Ben would have been fine because if you take a look at it, right, the Chronosapien time bomb is meant to destroy every other timeline and everything in it except the No Watch timeline. Yet the Omnitrix from Ben Prime survived. Why didn't the Omnitrix get erased?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Again, this also ties again to my argument that no Watch Ben was already there. I don't think the Omnitrix said, maybe I should save Ben. No, it just said, oh, here's Ben. He is fine. Let's move on.
That too. Oh, the fact that that after he gave No Watch Ben the Omnitrix, he then started disappearing.
Pretty much, yeah. While Duncan Willow states that Celestial Sapiens can survive time and destruction, that is contradicted by the statement from Manavaction's Facebook account and the actual scene. As if this was the case, Alex would have appeared. Again, we've already said why this isn't the case. And Manavaction's Facebook account, I'm genuinely asking,
Hold on.
Who runs that account? Who runs the Man of Action's Facebook account? Tell me who does.
I don't know. I'm not on Facebook.
I mean, we just don't know who's part of Man of Action that runs that account.
Mike's. 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 I got a lot.
What, did you say something?
Oh, no, no. Sorry. I was talking to somebody else.
Ah, okay. Going back to the Nalgians, this implies that the Nalgians are not in the complete Omnitrix's database pool. Otherwise, the Omnitrix failsafe would have kicked in and turned Ben into one of them. Again, we tackled this.
Again, that's reaching to the highest magnitude, but that's reaching to the highest magnitude because it erases
Yeah, we
timeline.
can.
There's no
Yeah, we
proof
can
that
just
I'm
ignore
now.
the Nalgian. We can
Yeah.
ignore the Nalgian part. Let's move on. Moving past Atomic X, the Chronosapien time bomb would reboot Alien X. He appears to be getting hurt by aliens such as he's blessing Chromastone and gets knocked around by weaker aliens, if not injured by them. And with Alien V, he gets his ass beat by way big. Before I get someone saying that Reboot Alien X doesn't belong here, here's a thread explaining Reboot Alien X. Again, the reboot isn't canon to like the main continuity. Why use
No,
it?
no, no, no. It is. It's just that it's its separate continuity. That's all. It's just like its own rules.
Yeah, pretty much. Part of the same cosmology, but separated from the actual prime timeline and the events around it.
Also, the fact that the context is that he destroyed, he mashed up the Omnitrix and then turned into Alien X, so that which brings in my point from before.
Yeah, pretty much. If Celestial Sapiens really have unlimited power, how can their powers be nerfed to such an extent? If you
Also,
had
didn't
unlimited power,
also didn't Duncan already commented on Alien V, saying that he didn't complete the power transfer?
I honestly don't know, but if you can find that statement, please pull it in.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, have the except that clearly is the case here, and it seems that all writers who have made statements on Celestial Sapiens have the idea that Celestial Sapiens don't have infinite, unlimited power. What? They do. In the context of Ben 10, they do. So far, I've used statement from Dirk J. White, the Man of Action Entertainment Facebook account, Dwayne McDuffie, Matt Wayne, and even Belkis himself to show this. I mean, again, Dwayne McDuffie, and by extension Matt Wayne, uh, don't consider their statements canon to the show. Derek J. White has stated that his statements are jokes, and Man of Action doesn't have authority over most of Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, and Omniverse. As for Duncan Lowe, he's the one who stated that.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
no problem.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's go back.
Go ahead.
Okay. Celestial sapien DNA gets diluted when merged with other DNA. Yes, but going into
Yeah. So he also says here DJW states that they work dependently on the universe. That makes absolutely no sense because, well, they changed the laws of the universe as Joe Kelly stated, so it wouldn't work that way. Maybe in the context of like different shows or maybe a different multiverse altogether. But like since Cartoon Network has a shared cosmology, that wouldn't really happen.
pretty much. Also, I want to go back to something. Celestial sapien DNA gets diluted when merged with other DNA, but going into other celestial sapien weaknesses, Paradox invading Alien X's mind space is definitely a weakness. I mean, again, Paradox literally ran away from Belkis and Serena, showing that they're vulnerable to this and that they can be further distracted by it. Dist- I mean, what do you expect from Celestial Sapiens? They're practically gods. If they can get distracted, but that distraction won't hurt them.
No, no, no. Yeah, he
Okay,
says
let's
like
continue.
the reboot confused as it's still a very similar universe. We also know that Celestial Sapiens are susceptible to having their powers absorbed by an Osmosian like Kevin or Morningstar, whatever. First of all, Ben wasn't sure if Michael could absorb it, and they already said that if Agregor did, then an adult, then they would have choose to destroy him. However,
Also, there's like the fact that Ben could have been just lying.
Right, recording up. Let's finish this. We reached the final section, which is like the final five screenshots. No, wait, hold on. We still have um, the if Celestial Sapiens really have unlimited power, how can their power be nerfed to such an extent? If they have unlimited power, then halving it is still unlimited. Except that's clearly in case, and it seems writers who have made statements on Celestial Sapiens have the idea that Celestial Sapiens don't have unlimited power. So far, I've used statements from DJW, the Man of Action, FB, Facebook, Dwayne McDuffie, Matt Wayne, and Bellicus himself to show this. Wait, what statement from Bellicus did he use to state this? Anyway, as I was saying previously, the Alien V1 was already stated by Duncan, who actually personally worked on the reboot. He wasn't a showrunner like in the other series. Which, by the way, on that topic, there's a guy who keeps saying that Duncan is unreliable because he had no um input on any series after the original series. I'll put the scan up here in this at this point when I'm editing it, but he is a showrunner, and people saying that that doesn't matter, he would still appear in the credits. That is not true. Showrunners are very rarely put in the credits, so it doesn't matter really. He would still be reliable at least as much as any other author. Showrunners oversee the whole show. All
Overall
right.
against,
What?
I'm personally overall against using author statements, as I think repeatedly said before, or
I
at
know.
least
I just was
mostly.
just like elaborating on some people who don't trust Duncan's word or anything. I mean, Duncan is probably like the second least contradictory author that makes contradictory statements.
Yeah, George White has kind of proved himself that he's very no contradicting of himself. And Dwayne McDuffie has literally stated that his statements are not canon to the show and are mostly behind the scene discussions. So I don't exactly see how their statements should be used compared to the likes of Joe Kelly and Dwayne McDuffie. Joe Kelly and Duncan Willow, sorry.
Okay, now as for the current events about him saying celestial sapiens do not have unlimited power. They do, but it's a combination of the fact that they don't have the tribunals, which is the personalities that cut their power and well diluting the DNA. So yeah, they're not fully celestial sapiens, and once again, Alien V also already stated that he did not fully transform into a celestial sapien. So yeah, he didn't get a chance. But as for Atomic X, well, Matt, the creator of well celestial sapiens and Alien X, stated that without Serena and Bellicus, Atomics is weaker. Well, I think that was Duncan's. Someone that and his statements are actually consistent that either the DNA is diluted or because Serena and Bellicus don't exist within the fusions and thus is way weaker. Because if you look at statements within the show, and I'll put them here, and other author statements, they consistently say that when all personalities agree, there's nothing that can stop them. So, so yeah, Hyperworld here is just nitpicking at some stuff. He's cherry picking right now.
Yeah, I mean, also, why would these uh, okay, why would these forms exactly nerf anything Alien X does? That is not exactly a weakness for Alien X, and most a weakness of the fusions themselves. And after all, fiction is really illogical, so there's probably a logical way in the context of Ben 10 on why these fusions are that weak. So I don't exactly see why we should use these as a way to nerf Alien X. And besides, Alien X consistently done infinite feats before, like the fifth dimensional barrier feat, which is by a fraction of his DNA, and of course, recreating the universe, which is massively above an infinity, as we stated before, being 26 dimensional at most. No, even at least, because you can argue beyond dimensional, but I'm not subscribed to beyond dimensional Ben 10. Now
I
let's go
mean,
over the.
beyond dimensional would be like space beyond in the Forge of Creation. That only that, because well, the Forge of Creation transcends everything in the universe. Well, the multiverse or omniverse, however you take it, however you want to say it, universe, multiverse, omniverse, same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay,
But
so let's.
sorry, what is it?
No, it's something about him saying that the reboot universe is similar to the Prime universe and how it was also affected by the art style change. I mean, again, we've kind of said it before. The reboot universe is not tied to the rules of the original Ben 10 Prime continuity. It's a separate continuity that has its own rules.
Yes, as Paradox stated, that every and even Duncan backed this up when he was asked if feedback could absorb multiversal energy. And he said if the physics of each universe were the same, then yes, which means that every universe follows a different kind of physics. Once again, Paradox said this about it. I'll drop the clip here about the other universe over or having counterintuitive physics. So not every universe follows the same rules as the prime universe, which why would the reboot continuity do as well? I mean, even if you want to make the argument that reboot Alien X is the same as prime Alien X because of well, also Alien X being omnipresent and omnipresent within each Omnitrix because there's one Alien X, no other versions exist. It's just Serena and Belkis across all the infinite Omnitrixies. But that does not take away from the fact that the context of Reboot Alien X is that he destroyed the Omnitrix in order to transform into Alien X. And as we've seen in the Shock Rock arc, that there are capsules within the Omnitrix that, if damaged, that contain the DNA of aliens, that if damaged, could leak into other capsules or even Ben himself and do damage or either permanently change the DNA within the other capsules. So, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty consistent that the celestial sapien DNA, for how powerful it is, can get diluted. And as you stated before, Bellicus and Serena, and likely Ben too, are likely the reason Alien X is so powerful. Because I have I don't want to say it's theory because it's backed up a lot, but it's more so an observation that Alien X is more so an avatar of what is the will of Bellicus, Serena, and Ben, what they want. And this could apply to all celestial sapiens, that what we're seeing, the celestial sapien themselves, is just an avatar to the will of the personalities of the celestial sapien, not the actual celestial sapien themselves, as we have seen that they can be damaged or even destroyed without that much issue, like the galactic gladiator when he was absorbed in the galaxy-sized black hole made by Alien X.
he just instantly regenerated afterwards. And it's
Yeah,
also consistent that your theory is backed up by the fact that Serena and Bellicus existed way before the Omnitrix as well, as we've seen, and they do exist without Ben transforming into them as well. Because as they say that they spent eons debating and stuff like that. So obviously they exist without the help of the Omnitrix.
yeah, pretty much. Now we head down to Agrigor and absorbing the baby celestial sapiens. I mean, you can argue he can absorb a baby, but I don't think Agrigor can absorb an adult. Like, if he can absorb an adult celestial sapien, why doesn't he do that?
Okay, so I'll
The
I'll
answer is
drop I'll drop the statement here. You can go ahead and keep talking. I'll just say and I'll drop the statement here.
right. So I just don't exactly see a reason to how Agrigor could absorb an adult celestial sapien. Like, for example, Ben's, aka Alien X. Like, I can definitely see why a baby, because it's a baby celestial sapien. It lacks a personality and it's likely vulnerable compared to an actual adult celestial sapien. And the
This
same can be said for Kevin and Michael. Michael has no reason to be able to absorb the power of a celestial sapien. Aside from a statement from Ben, which even then, back then, Ben just didn't want to use Alien X
and the fact that
because
he
he was
didn't
pretty
know if
much
Michael could even absorb it.
if I remember correctly, he wasn't exactly sure of it.
Yeah, he wasn't
He
sure if
just said,
Michael could absorb it. He just said that he didn't want to risk it.
okay, let's see the summarization. Alien X is only shown to be able to perform fifth dimensional feat. This is fault. We have pointed out how he can actually perform 26th dimensional feats and potentially higher, and has
But
been shown in series to have limitations on multiple occasions. False. Any limitation that you've pointed out for Celestial Sapien is really just stretching things out and using author statements. Is potentially the third or fourth strongest alien as opposed to the strongest. He is the strongest alien in the Omnitrix. No other alien can compete with Alien X, and is repeatedly stated to be the strongest being in the universe in the context of the Ben 10 cosmology in general, and has multiple weaknesses. The only weaknesses Alien X has is the personalities, which even then, with Ben himself, he can just use Alien X as much as he wants, or at least implied to, because R.J. White said that Ben still has to debate over Alien X, but
well, no,
that's a
that's been
topic for
proven
another day.
false in the Rooters Act because the second he activated Alien X, he had full control. Even Rook stated that. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And finally, and relies on other members of a species forming a group to perform more impressive feats. False. Again, Alien X recreated the universe alone. This does not scream omnipotent to me. It, I mean, recreating the universe and everything in it, and having the power over multiple powerful deities in Ben 10 screams omnipotent to me.
No, no, no. You see,
Thanks.
I agree that there is no objectively omnipotent character within fiction, but it's like omnipotent within a verse either means you're really fucking strong or you're the top in the verse. You're like the strongest. So
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
I'm basically meaning.
I
That's what I
also
basically mean.
yeah. Also, I didn't say this, but with the aggregate absorbing thing, he does realize that it was actually stated by Matt already. Again, written the episode that the reason why reason why Agragor didn't absorb the adult is because he would have to deal with their personalities as well. The reason why he went to absorb a baby is because it has the raw, unfiltered power. It's just no personalities were formed yet. It takes eons to form a personality.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's pretty much our conclusion. I think the thread in general was very bad. It had lots of issues with it.
Yeah, like
Uh,
he goes on to say that he goes on to like kind of debunk Alien X with Atomic X, but even he admits that the Annihilog is above um the time bomb. Yet he still says that he knows this and even knows that the Annihilog destroyed time itself, as he stated at the beginning of the thread. Yet still thinks that he is vulnerable to the Chronosapien time bomb, which destroyed all timelines and reset the infinite time stream. Like it's still time erasure. He doesn't magically become vulnerable to time if he already survived a time erasure. So it's like really weird because he kind of contradicts himself back and forth. And we call that conflicting conditions, where you contradict yourself between points.
yeah, pretty. I just the thread in general it feels like okay. I have to collect myself. I don't think Hyperroll is a bad person. I don't think he's a liar or someone who wants Illinex to be weak. But the thread felt like something a Benton lowballer would do. I'm not denying that Hyperworld is a Benton fan. But at the same time, looking at the thread, lots of these arguments are arguments that I have seen as a Benton fan in the Versus community across the last couple of years used against Alien X. All of them being very bad. especially from Death Battle fans. They really love to use these arguments.
Yeah, they do.
In general, those arguments. Yeah, in general, I just it felt like it. It felt like something a Benton lowballer would make and ignore pretty much anything that supports the claim that Alien X is powerful. And even then, 5D is still a very good tier, and Alien, heck, it also kind of wanked some characters. For example, the what's their name again? The Anodites, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he really whacked the
look, I'm not
anodites. That
saying
was crazy.
like, are you telling me with prep time they would have survived with the Annihilarg and the Chronosapien time bomb? No, they would have gotten erased. And that Anodites are extra dimensional. And he literally didn't even have a source for it.
No, he didn't.
Fact.
Sorry, my internet busted there. So yeah. No, he didn't. He didn't have an argument, which was crazy in that there's only an argument to make that mana itself is multidimensional. That's from Kevin. But yeah, there is literally no higher dimensional statements for the Anodites themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Goku is a third dimensional being, yet has access to higher dimensional levels of ki. That's kind of separate entirely.
Yep. But anyway, this comes to our conclusion to our debunk. What do we have planned for part one as well? The title says part zero. Give the fans a preview.
For part one, we're actually going to cover specifically the aliens before Alien X. Because Alien X, and especially Benton cosmology, are a very, very complicated topic. And I think the two videos should be separated instead of being a 1.5 hour compilation. So part one will be discussing Ben's aliens, the Omnitrix and its abilities, and Ben's capabilities without the Omnitrix.
Yeah, so we basically scaling all of Ben's aliens without Alien X and Ben himself. And well, part two will be like scaling base Ben, his human form.
No, I'm specifically talking about that part one is everything without Alien X. And part two, we will tackle Alien X and especially Ben 10 cosmology. And we're going to explain Ben 10 cosmology in detail because it's an interesting cosmology to talk about.
It's interesting yet vague. I get why people hate scaling Ben 10, to be honest, because as a Ben 10 scaler myself, it's really, really complicated.
Bro, Ben 10 is a pretty series, all things considered. With
Honest,
the reboot, the multiple comic books, and the four series that just don't exactly align with each other sometimes, it's a messy series. Exactly like how comic books are.
I mean, you can argue that all the comics are canon because of the fact of the multiverse shit, because well, I mean, I know Duncan said that the only comics that are canon as it correlates to canon events, but in my opinion, you can argue all comics are canon because, as Paradox said, there are many ways to tell a story, and well, the Gwen 10 episode in the original series, there are hundreds of ways to tell different stories and stuff like that. So I think if you use the every timeline and the ad infinitum argument from Paradox, what Paradox said about every timeline being ad infinitum in possibilities, then yeah, every comic is canon. But it's not like Benton cosmology alone is just complicated. It's just that Cartoon Network itself follows a clustered cosmology. Like from every show, there is a cosmology that intertwines with each other. So Ben 10 reboot, Ben 10, and well, OKKO. See, Ben 10 reboot is canon to the original continuity, and when we had the OKKO crossover Nexus, it essentially brought CN City, if which I don't know if well, back in my day. Well, damn. Okay. I'm using. I'm
Old
really
man.
an unk right now. Damn. Okay. Anyway, uh, I'm never gonna live that one down. But okay. Yeah. So they used to have these bumpers on Cartoon Network City, which was basically a a series of commercials where every show that aired on Cartoon Network would would be in this one commercial about a city where they had different sections for every show, and they created this canon canonically within the OKKO verse and crossover nexus, and they actually did it again with the recent crossover movie. I can't remember what it's called, but Ben 10, the original Ben 10, actually appeared for like a few seconds as Stingfly. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So see, Cartoon Network is just like making everything complicated because now all the shows follows this intertwined cosmology, and it's really fucking complicated because it means all
I
the
mean,
games. Yeah.
you can even include these. Technically, DC can be included because of the variety of shows that are in Ben 10, Cartoon Network. Sorry.
Oh no no no. DC Unlimited and stuff like that is included. They were actually in a few in the bumpers. So yeah. And well,
Oh, pretty neat.
DC Unlimited is canon to the comics. Da 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 da. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we're just gonna mention those because it doesn't feel like something that a lot of people would buy, or at least put it in the high end interpretations. Because I also want the videos to have a low, a mid, and a high end for each section, so that if you don't buy the mid or high end, you can take the low end if you want it. So,
That's
for
true.
example, for a low end, yeah, for example, low end Benton cosmology and high end, like including all the crossover stuff, that'd be pretty neat. And also for the aliens themselves, I know for a fact lots of people have lots of issues with the Ben 10 mid tier scalings to the likes of Humongous Sword, Diamond Head, and all people compared to them. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to give them a high, low, and mid ends because it's a very varied subject.
We should also for part two. I think you said that we would be talking about Alien X and the cosmology and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's one thing that I forgot to bring up that we should take into account. Remember, in crossover Nexus, Reboot Ben could turn into at the end of the show, he could turn into every Cartoon Network hero, like at least from neutral good, chaotic good, lawfully good, or at least neutral, because we see Blackheart there, but apparently that was a clone. But yeah, so we know that Alien X is above all of them because of the fact that they all got one shotted by Strike. So we should probably add that into this part two. Part two might be insanely long, to be honest, if we take into account crossovers and shit.
Yeah, honestly, even part one could potentially be long because we're gonna have to take into account feats and anti-feats, and to examine what is the how high and how low can you get Benton scaling. As I mean, Benton is just a very long series and complicated in terms of its power scaling because on one hand you have threats like the Big Tick who are planetary threats, but then you have Ben struggling against street tiers or island level explosions like when Vilgax died in I think the end of season 3 of Alien Force, right?
Yes, and that's season three, which is weird because I can actually consistently scale Warlord Vilgax to star level, maybe large star level or so, because of the fact that he can like beat the absolute dog shit out of Sugalite, whose body was stated to be able to absorb a blue super giant, and it was really weird to see him almost get done in by an explosion. I mean, we could argue that his true form made him more vulnerable, like like how his ultimates, like how Ben's ultimates does a trade off. Yeah, trade off.
Yeah, I mean, it's that form's only appearance. It doesn't appear at all after that. So I think saying that it is weaker than his base form does make sense.
Oh, also because we don't know how powerful the core of the Chimera hammer is. It could very well be like the Dual Star from Ben 10, where it's small as shit but 20 times as powerful as the sun. You know.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, I feel we have to discuss the whole Big Bang feat and how aliens could potentially scale it in the high ends of feats. I feel like we're going to discuss lots of cosmic level bent and stuff in the high end feats. Like, again, the Big Bang and Big Chill freezing the null void, stuff along those lines.
I mean, I believe the null void big chill thing is was outlier because it's circumstantial because he needed the drill to do that. But at the same time, you could still argue
True.
that he has universal level freezing because at the same time, even if he needed the drill, it still froze the entire dimension.
Pretty much.
So
Overall, I'm just excited for
yeah,
part one and part two.
same. We should also do we should also actually do a part three on like how powerful human Ben is. Like I see a lot of people lowballing the shit out of human Ben because he's literally like at least large building level. Like this
I
guy
mean,
can yeah, go ahead.
I was actually going to say that we're going to discuss human bent in part one as well. Because, again, absolutely agree with you. Many people lowball human bent and said that he's comparable to average teenagers when he's much more powerful than that.
And they say Deku can beat him just because he's skinny and Deku is more muscular. Like, bruh. Like, okay, 5-year-old Trunks piecing up the shit out of Frieza is crazy. So,
Overall, I'm just hyped for the episode.
yeah, so let's do
I'm
the
just hyped
outro
for
now. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been Factual Skiller and Nokia the Insane. Hope to see you all in another video. Peace. What's your
Thank you.
outro?
Thank you so much all for watching. And remember, go watch New Get a Robo because it's a really good anime. 13 episodes only.
And go read God of High School. That shit is peak. Later.